Hi, readers. Welcome to Goddess Garden Book Club. I'm so glad you're here. I have decided it's time to launch our special topics edition for adults who love a good novel. I've developed this little special edition so we can do some interesting things here aside from just reviewing books. And I've developed a vision statement that is specific to each one of these areas we're going to attack. So, as always, be comfortable, be welcomed, be aware. Topics discussed in this safe space include a breadth of writing styles, voices, genres, and personal stories. Here, we'll enjoy a closer look. So it doesn't matter the time of day or night, in your car, in your office, at lunchtime, before you go to sleep at night. I am happy you're a part of the conversation. And I invite you to join the social pages if you want to do a deeper discussion. As always, the links are below, and you can join me on Discord where we can really talk about some of these great works. But here we're going to discuss more than a singular work. It's going to be a personal journey, and it's how these books impact the reading experience and the types of enjoyment that exist out there. I've always said it and I'll keep saying it. There's something for everyone. So, we're going to define today's topic. We are going to do a deep dive into biographies. Biographies are a journey of the storyteller. So, it doesn't allow for the intrusion on the way they see their own experience. I can, however, after hearing or reading the author's recollections, see a perspective I agree with or disagree with. So that's how I approach all biographies. Selections aren't easy when it comes to picking biographies because rarely does a reader leave their preconceived notions behind, and that can make enjoying someone else's journey a challenge. So, what I have found when I look at these books and when I'm choosing a biography is I have to lessen the chatter around the individual or the topic so that it doesn't shape what they are sharing when I take a read. And I'll give you two examples of what I mean by that. When Will Smith's book came out, there was so much chatter around Will Smith, the person, around anger issues, around his behavior, around his marriage, around his children. I wanted to know what he wrote, and I bought it as a pre selection. It was a pre release. I have yet to read this book. I had to let the entirety of the chatter die down. Same example is Liz Cheney's book. Oath and Honor was something I'm looking forward to, and I have specifically slated this book. I'm going to start reading it November 5th, 2024. I want to wait until after the election where a cumulative effect is going to take shape. And it's from the time that she was a member of the Senate to when the current election comes and goes. So that's what I mean by lessening the chatter. There, there can be interference that shapes how you feel about a journey that you go on. Now, let's talk about what I've picked because as you can see by the image, I have four selections I want to share with you. And I'm going to share an abridged synopsis. But I can tell you that I have read all but one of these books, and I'll share with you which one that is. Let's start with Bits and Pieces My Mother, My Brother, and Me. This book is by Whoopi Goldberg. It's roughly 256 pages in written form. But you know me, it was an audiobook because why not? I always do audiobooks. It was published May 2024. So, as of this recording, this is one of my most recent reads. Let's dig into the synopsis a little. If it weren't for Emma Johnson, Karen Johnson would have never become Whoopi Goldberg. Emma gave her children the loving care and wisdom they needed to succeed in life, always encouraging them to be true to themselves. When Whoopi lost her mother in 2010 and then her older brother Clyde 5 years later, she felt deeply alone. The only people who truly knew her were gone. In that synopsis, you think that this is going to be a journey into how Whoopi shares loss, grief, and sadness as you transition and the people you love transition on to the next level or higher plane or go home or however it is that you perceive this journey. That is not what I found when I read this book. It was such a joy and celebration of the people that she loved that without knowing them personally, I felt her joy. I felt the impact that they had on her life. And I'm so grateful she wrote this book because I think there are different sides and perspectives to how people grieve and the footprint that someone else leaves on your life. And I love the way she shares the footprint of the most important people in her life because I am blessed in the respect that I don't suffer a lot of loss. At this point in my life, I still have both parents. I still have all my siblings. Their children are still doing well. My children are still doing well. And we suffer intermittent loss within the family line. And so when I empathize and go on this journey with other people, I try to understand what it means to truly be separated from those most pivotal to your life. And I've only had that happen with one individual, and they resonate in everything I do, in the things that I shape. If only I could tell my grandmother the lasting effect that she would have on me, I promise you she would be so happy. And so when I read this book, that's what it conjured up for me. The joy that I feel when I celebrate the impact of that person on my life. So thank you, thank you, thank you for writing that book. Let's move on to No Wonder My Parents Drank, Tales from a Stand-Up Dad. This book is by Jay Mohr. He's a stand-up comedian. If you're not familiar with him, he's also a very popular actor. Seen him in quite a few things. The book was 288 pages and it was published January of 2010. I got this book very early in my journey with Audible books. I purchased it. I still have it. And I'm going to share with you the abridged synopsis. From Saturday Night Live to stand up, from a blockbuster film career to the star of CBS's hit television show Gary Unmarried, Jay Mohr is one of the funniest people in comedy today. Now, in this down and dirty tale of modern fatherhood, Mohr shares his story as a first time parent. Now, keep in mind, this was 2010 when this book was released. And the shades of comedy that come through in this book are very enjoyable. Overall, as a story, I wouldn't say for my particular journey, it wasn't that relatable. There may be things that you find that as a parent, these are ways in which are very reflective of how things have gone in your life. That wasn't the case for me, but overall, I found it really enjoyable because I love personal journeys that share someone's joy when they look back over their life and the things that happen versus the pitfalls, the things that go wrong and the challenges. And with Jay Mohr, I can honestly say that came through loud and clear in this book. So if you get a chance and you want to look at a stand-up comedian's memoir, that was a really fun time. Let's move on to Enough by Cassidy Hutchinson. This book is 379 pages and it was published in September 2023. I don't know if you're familiar with just by name Cassidy Hutchinson, by face if you're familiar with Cassidy. But Cassidy played a very pivotal role. Let me read the synopsis. She played a pivotal role in how our government had to address some failings and things that were not being done in a way that benefited the American people. Cassidy Hutchinson's desk was mere steps from the most controversial president in recent American history. Now she provides a riveting account of her extraordinary experiences as an idealistic young woman thrust into the middle of a national crisis. where she risked everything to tell the truth about some of the most powerful people in Washington. I purchased this book because as I've gotten to truly cherry pick what I allow media to tell me as the truth, hearing it from her allowed me to bypass the chatter of, oh my gosh, this is what happened. This is what she testified to. This is what she was going through. This is how she was feeling. Look at her face. Look at his face. Look at their faces. Look at the impact. I needed I needed to pull back, and I wanted to hear what she thought, how she felt about it, and how she told her story because it was her life that was most impacted by being in the middle of this story. So that mattered to me. That perspective mattered to me. And so I took this journey with her. And as an American citizen, I still take this journey with her. So thank you so much for sharing what it was like to be in that position. I hope and pray I never find myself in the middle of a national crisis. But I thank God that there are truth tellers still willing to stand up and say, this is what I saw, this is what happened, this is what I know to be true, because this is what I care about. Let's move on to our final selection, which is Uphill, a memoir by Jemele Hill. Please excuse me. No risk, no shade, no disrespect. It was 256 pages, and it was published in 2022. Now, again, all four of these books I enjoyed as audiobooks, but I also know that I am probably 40% of the population. So I always give you the page count so that you have a clear idea of how long, if you go by pages, it's going to take you to get through a particular story. Now, let's read this short synopsis. An empowering, unabashedly bold memoir by the Atlantic journalist and former ESPN Sports Center co anchor about overcoming a legacy of pain and forging a new path, no matter how uphill life's battles may be. Forging a new path is an understatement when you talk about Jemele Hill. Jemele Hill should wear a t-shirt every day that says, all I do is forge forward, because I'm surrounded by haters on the left, right, and in the middle. Of all these books, I closely related to this story in particular because it is shades of what most, or if not all, women go through at some point. It is shades of the misunderstanding and misconceptions we hold when we see somebody who is at the peak of doing what they're doing, but not understanding how they got there. And then when you realize that it took a lot of pain and it took a lot of patience and there were a lot of hurdles to climb, that's how you forge forward to be the best. Oh my gosh, this book completely tells that story. Now, let me be honest in that this is the only book I have not finished. I'm about two-thirds of the way through it, but it is so important to me personally to finish this journey because even though her life is an ongoing celebration of overcoming, I want to see how this book shapes up, wraps up, and puts her where she wraps it up in 2022 versus as we go forward. So that's one of the things that I look forward to, whether or not I share it with you as something I'm actively reading or like the other books, I've read it, I'm living it, living with it, and its impact. So that's going to lead us to talk about where the club love is. And I felt the impact of these stories in ways that I can best describe as either moving, transparent, enlightening, powerful, or unbelievable. In some way, each of these books touches on that. I think Cassidy, more so than anybody else, came with the unbelievable because you don't realize what an unbelievable story she found herself in the middle of. Each one fits somewhere in here. So, I hope that if you haven't picked these up, you give them a consideration. They were amazing journeys. So stay tuned for more of these specials as GGBC does deep dives like this more and more often. Keep in mind that I'm here for a good time and a long time, so like and subscribe for more book journeys. Thank you for indulging this deep dive into this GGBC library. Reading for joy, self growth, entertainment, or verification makes every book journey worthwhile. So I'll see you on the next book journey.